It's so nice to see you again.
Likewise.
The last time that we spoke, you had written a book called, I believe, The Sixth Extinction.
You got it.
And it was about how we were all going to die.
Well, I'm not sure we all are going to die.
Most of us are going to die.
Many, many species. Yeah.
Since then, you've put together, it's a wonderful book of essays. I won't even hold it up. It was up on the thing there. But what it says to me is you have since then traversed to all ends of this planet. Still cooking?
Well, we still live. I think that one of the great ironies of my career, such as it is that in writing about a lot of very, very serious environmental problems, I've been to the most amazing places on Earth, which really give you an appreciation of what a fantastic planet it is that we live on and how we might want to take an interest in that.
We might want to take an interest in that.
Yeah, it's just a thought. It's just a thought.
When you see these places, Greenland, you went searching for whale songs. Does it seem more resilient than at first glance it may look, even with our own depravity when it comes to polluting it or whatever we're doing?
Well, obviously life on this planet is extremely resilient or it wouldn't be here, right? And I think that we do see that whenever we sort of take our foot off the gas pedal, a lot of things do spring back to life. So there are a lot of real success stories.
Restorative.
Yes. I mean, when we stop doing things, when we stopped hunting for things, for example, I'll give you a really local example near where I live.
Please.
When we stopped hunting turkeys, it's a very timely example around Thanksgiving. We stopped hunting wild turkeys bounced back. Life is extremely resilient. That is.
But there are also repercussions from that. I've noticed that these turkeys have gotten very sassy. It's true. Just operate with impunity now. They walk across.
They think they can get pardoned for anything.
Gobble, motherfucker. Like they don't even. That part.
Yeah. But life is very resilient. But we are really, let's just say, we are piling it on.
We are piling it on. And that brings us to the other question, which is, I feel like the message about the tenuousness of our environment is out there. It's sort of like awareness. I think there's an awareness. It doesn't seem to be commensurate, though, with a change. Is that something that you've noticed?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
I
Why
have noticed
is it that we have not changed? What are the reasons why you don't think we have changed our behavior? And do you think, how far up our bodies does the water have to be before we might change something?
Well, we seem really intent on, pushing this experiment about as far as it can go. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a very interesting fact about humanity. It's actually really, really interesting, as well as terrifying. Right. Which turns out, that a lot of what you learn about the world these days is very interesting and terrifying at the same time.
Right. What is it about? Because if you're an environmentalist, so if you think, okay, global warming is real.
I can guarantee you that.
And it is caused by human activity. Is it realistic to think, because what we've been told over the last 35 years is human activity is the cause, and we've just got to reduce human activity. But that seems to go against 10,000 years of human activity, which is, I like that easier, faster, smaller, tastier, deader. So how do we square those things?
Well, I think that you could argue that's the question of our time, but mm-hmm. I will answer that question with a story, which I first heard from a climate scientist on the top of the Greenland ice sheet.
You were standing with him on the top of the Greenland ice sheet?
Yes. And if you think about your geological history, so New York, about 10,000 years ago, looked a lot like Greenland, right? Where we're sitting now was under about a mile of ice. The ice retreated. We entered this period of unusual climate stability, and we know this from a lot of different lines of evidence, including mm-hmm. the ice on Greenland. We enter this period of climate stability. We invent what we call civilization. We invent agriculture, writing, all the things, towns, cities. We become very sedentary and set in our ways. And what do we use these 10,000 years to do but to invent ways to disrupt the climate? Now, if you were thinking about, what you need to do when you inherit, very fortunately, a period of unusual climate stability, it would be to try to sort of keep it that way. But we have chosen to go in the opposite direction, with all the evidence, mounting evidence of the risks that entails. And once again, that's a fascinating thing to do, but not exactly what you'd recommend.
See, what I hear from that story is, if we keep this up, we could turn Greenland into Manhattan.
That is absolutely true. To keep it up, but there's 20 feet of sea level rise in there.
But
so Manhattan won't be here.
Right. But is there anything to... Oh, we won't be here, so we'll just go up there.
Yeah.
Can I tell you what a great idea is? Because I imagine rents up there are going to be much...
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of competition for space.
But I think part of that is how, it makes us seem wildly irresponsible and selfish. And I'm not suggesting that we might not be that, but what species would be a better care? Humans have done amazing. There's 8 billion of us. And now, when you think about the creature comforts of the United States and all the so-called first world industrialized societies, is it fair for us now to turn to, the different hemispheres that are less developed and go, I get you want the mini fridge, but unfortunately you can't get there in the same way that we did? I feel like it's easy for us to castigate humankind, but I feel like humankind is we just want to, when it plugs in, know that it works.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of different ways to answer that. I mean,
yes, other than yelling at me.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to be honest about why I think we haven't done anything.
Well, that's one of the reasons we
Yes.
haven't done anything. I mean, I think obviously, when you ask less developed countries to cut their energy use, and our energy use is way up there. We're up there with the Saudis, basically, with per country.
And I think responsible for what, 40% of global warming or 50%?
Yeah, basically, and in terms of just aggregate emissions that are up there. And another point you have to make is they don't go away; they just stay there. We're the top. We're number one. And yeah, come on, yeah. And
I got to tell you, tone of voice didn't sound as enthusiastic as. Didn't match the words, Elizabeth.
Sorry.
Am I the problem, is what I'm getting at? Is my lack of understanding of this, because I consider myself accepting of climate science,
yes,
understanding of some of the depredations of it, and an overwhelmingly larger user of energy than anybody outside of the United States.
Yeah, no, I admire your candor. And I think that is, we are all, I am.
That sounds like what you said when you're going to break up with somebody.
We are all in that, and basically all of us in the U.S., and some of us even more than others. And I am definitely, in writing that book, I, burned up tremendous amounts of carbon. So we are all, part of that society that burns a lot of carbon. And the question is there any way to get from here to there? And the answer is, I genuinely don't know.
Wait, what? Then what are you mad at me for?
I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you.
But so this is what brings me to the next point, which is I think I do know how.
Oh, tell me.
Because... I'm just going to ask my wife to fast forward to just that part and go, you're going to want to use that. You're going to want to use the phrase with just that same intonation when I say something like, I think we can make it to the airport on time. And then you're going to want to go, oh, tell me. Here's what I think. We're so focused on the idea of it as a moral question, as the idea that our stewardship of the environment is about virtue and not about sort of the nature of wanting to reproduce and make life easier, and that we've pushed people away from the movement and in the wrong direction. If what you're saying to them is, you want a better life, and that makes you corrupt. Because your better life has to have more bicycling. Like Ed Begley Jr., he's miserable right now. He hates doing everything. But my point being, it seems like we just the better strategy would be, honestly, to accept it and do mitigating structures that can help do it, and work on cleaning whatever it is that we produce out of it, and worry about what comes after that next. No?
Well, how are we cleaning it?
Isn't carbon capture a thing? Isn't that something that they invented?
Well, I did write a chapter of that
Yes.
book. It's about carbon capture, and I believe, I hate to quote myself, but I think I said something like, it may be vital without being viable. I mean, we really don't have, large-scale carbon capture. It doesn't exist, and it's not clear that it will. And the other point that I really need to make about carbon capture is it takes a lot of energy.
So do electric cars. I thought that was going to get us out of this.
Why would you use that energy to take your carbon out of the air? Why don't you just make carbon-free energy? That would kind of be, I think everyone would agree.
But isn't that because it's been so far more expensive, so it's not politically viable? In other words, like if we were, you saw what happened in New Jersey. New Jersey electric prices went up 20%. AI is now on the horizon, and what AI is not saying, hey, let's preserve the environment. AI is saying, hey, do you have any water? Do you have any electricity?
Yeah, exactly.
Like when AI, they say, oh, well, that's worth it because AI will solve this. My guess is what AI's solution is going to be like, yeah, you guys should use less electricity. Send it our way.
Exactly.
So that,
exactly.
Are we thinking about this in the wrong way?
Well, I mean, sometimes, I think that the key thing to remember about climate change, unfortunately, is you're not arguing, you're not even arguing with AI, you're not arguing politics, you're not even arguing with Donald Trump. You're arguing with physics. You're just arguing with basic physics. So we may be thinking about it all wrong, but the physics of it are inarguable. And they've been understood. Another point that is really key to understand is they've been understood for over 100 years now. This is not hard science.
That carbon going into the atmosphere heats up the Earth.
Exactly.
No. That I understand.
Yeah.
It just seems unrealistic to expect 8 billion people to row all in the same positive moral direction. It feels like if we're gonna do this, it's gonna come from somewhere else.
Well, I think the question is, where is that somewhere else? And now we're getting into a really big question. Where is that somewhere else? Deep questions, John. And I also, I'm going to provide it. Okay, so I often do go, out into the world, and I give talks, and climate change is one of the topics.
Right.
And at the end of the talk, people always ask me the same question: how are we going to solve this? And I say to them what I'm going to say to you right now. If I had the answer, do you think I would keep it from you? Do you think that I wouldn't have written it in this book if I had the answer? I do not have this answer. It's not that I'm withholding. It's not that I'm holding out on you, John. Yeah.
I feel like you are. I feel like you don't want to tell me.
I will also say, one thing that I will say, though, is that there are better and worse things to do. I think that that's pretty clear. And what we are doing right now, under a certain president, whom you have, amply taken care of earlier in the show, we are,
If that is not the blurb for our Emmy campaign, I don't know what would be.
Exactly. You can use that one too.
Thank you.
We are really moving so far in the wrong direction, and we are trying to force our allies to move in the wrong direction. So any kind of progress that was being made, and some modest amount of progress was being made, we the U.S. is now trying to destroy, and that is something that is pretty unconscionable.
But does that point to how difficult this is, that it's not so politically viable? Like, as soon as everybody's on board until gas goes up 10 cents. So the minute, originally there was all the we're going to put a carbon tax on things, and that's the only thing that's going to reduce consumption. And the minute they did that, they got voted out of office, and new people came in, or the farmers in France, were like, you can't do this to us in terms of trucking or the way that we produce things. There are political realities to this.
Yes, there are, but I think that there are other political realities to which there's actually tremendous amounts of money to be made on clean energy if we would, stop. Basically, we prop up fossil fuels in this country to the tune of many billions of dollars worth of tax.
Sure. But we also do that to green energy and
well, we
solar
were
and renewables.
trying to.
Or
we
did.
were trying to.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I don't know that we can assume that the politics of this are always, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist.
Please.
Yeah. But the politics of this are always being manipulated by people who have a pretty solid vested interest in the status quo.
Right.
Who might those be? Yeah. I think that
Epstein.
Yeah. I think that, the U.S. is now the largest oil and gas producer on the planet. And there are very, very serious economic interests at stake here. And so I think that the way that the politics get manipulated, that is a serious problem. But I don't think that politics have to be opposed to progress.
Right. And my understanding is that we have tried to do those things and that it has not been as viable as we would have liked in terms of solar and the new grid and all those other things, that it's been difficult. And I wonder, are we going to have to make cleaning up the carbon more worth it financially? Or as you say, maybe that's just not a possibility.
Well, I think that, if you do look at what is happening in China right now, and China has managed to overtake us pretty much, in the time since we last talked, become by far the world's biggest emitter on a sort of annual basis.
Right.
And the Chinese,
they're building coal plants like it's nothing, like it's going out of style.
They are also putting up clean energy like it's nothing.
Like it's going out of style.
Yeah. And they're going to
coal plants and clean energy.
They're going to own those new industries, and we are going to, sort of cling to old industries. And so it's sort of like if you were, making kerosene lamps, in the 19th century, and someone said, well, there's this great invention called a light bulb. Maybe you'd want to get into that.
Right.
And we said, no, we really want to stick with kerosene lamps. And that is really, honestly, what we're doing. That is what we're doing. And so what we're doing might seem to make a lot of sense right now, but I think when we look back on it 10, 20 years from now, both economically and environmentally, it will not make sense.
No, I agree with you. And I think it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's more that, unfortunately, making sense has not been our forte.
Exactly.
That's kind of my point, is all I was saying.
Well, I totally agree with that. How's that?
I knew we would come to a thing. So if you could, thank you. Very nice. If you could just give my wife a different phrase to say to me, that would.
Yeah. Well, I also just do want to make one point before
Yes, please.
It really is true now that putting up new solar energy, is the cheapest form of new energy, of added capacity. That is true, and that fact is something that we should be celebrating and building on.
Is that with subsidies or without, or it just is the cheapest?
It just is cheapest.
Right.
It just is
and,
cheapest.
And
And
reliability
also,
as well.
even in the developing world, a lot of countries are moving that way, a lot of countries that have a lot of sun, because it is simply cheaper, not even for environment.
See, there you go. That's a piece of information I did not have, and that maybe could change my cynicism on this.
Well, far be it from me to want to change your cynicism, John.
Okay. Life on a Little Known Planet available now. Elizabeth Kolbert.